If you are seeing this now, it is not by accident. Your frequency has awakened an ancient calling. There are 5 lessons revealed by the 3 initiates. Lessons that only emerge when the soul is ready to receive them. Each one carries the power to reprogram your vibrational field at its very core. But listen closely, these lessons are not meant for everyone. They were left behind only for those who have begun to feel that the world is far more than it appears. Stay until the end, and you will understand why your reality has not shifted yet, and more importantly, what must awaken within you for the external world to finally respond. The mind, just like metals and elements, can be transmuted from one state to another, from one degree to another, from one condition to another, from pole to pole, from vibration to vibration. So says the Kybalion. Before any book, before any organized doctrine, there was one single code, not inked onto paper but carved into stone, the Emerald Tablet. It was there that Hermes Trismegistus etched the foundations of reality, not with elaborate arguments, but with brief phrases of surgical precision, each word carrying a vibration potent enough to reorder the fabric of the universe itself, and it did. What he left was not merely a text, it was a map, a sacred diagram that can only be read by those vibrating at a higher frequency. Centuries later, 3 initiates captured that same essence and translated it for those ready to perceive. Thus was born the Kybalion, a book that, at first glance, seems deceptively simple but only reveals its true nature as the reader evolves internally. It was never meant to be understood by the intellect alone. It was meant to be lived. Memorizing the phrases serves no purpose. The power is not in the words themselves, but in the vibration behind them. Hermetic language was crafted carefully to evade censorship, persecution, and distortion. It never hands you the gold outright. It buries the gold within you. Each principle within it acts as a key, but these keys do not function through intellectual effort. They activate when you stop trying to understand and instead begin to feel, to listen with your soul. That is why the true seeker does not demand answers. They attune themselves to the silent message vibrating from the tablet. And once they truly listen, they are never the same again, because they recognize that nothing was ever missing. The truth was always there, waiting within them. They only had to remember. And that is the moment when something deep inside begins to crack open. Reality itself starts to feel less solid, as if the world you thought you knew was merely a shadow cast through a veil. The ancients knew this. Hermes inscribed in the Corpus Hermeticum that humanity's greatest prison is not made of iron bars or ruled by governments. It is constructed from ignorance, not ignorance of facts, but of identity. As long as you believe you are only your bodies, your thoughts, your titles, you remain asleep. And as long as the soul sleeps, the true world remains hidden. When the soul sleeps, the world of the senses becomes all that exists. You begin identifying with the reflection in the mirror, with the numbers in your bank account, with the judgments and opinions of others, and so the veil grows thicker. You start reacting to life instead of creating it, reacting to fear, to criticism, to scarcity, to the past. But none of those things are you. They are illusions that gained strength because you forgot who you truly are. And this forgetting, that is the real prison. As long as you remain disconnected from your true vibrational nature, you will keep trying to change the outer world with external tools. And nothing will truly shift. The illusion thrives on your effort, luring you to seek solutions out there while the real chains remain hidden within. The truth is, the world is not limiting you. thoughts, your own perception that built the walls. And the key to freedom was never to break the walls down. It was to remember they were never real to begin with. When you tear through that veil, when ignorance gives way to awareness, something ancient stirs within you. The ancients called it recognition. It's not learning in the way you were taught. It's activating something you've always known. And in that moment, 5 hidden codes, 5 vibrational keys left by the initiates begin to surface. They are not theories, they are not beliefs. They are living mechanisms waiting only for your frequency to align with them. If you are still here, if you feel this stirring, it's because you are ready. Now is the time to open those doors, one by one. Lesson 1. Everything vibrates. Reality is condensed energy. These 5 keys, these vibrational truths, were not made to convince skeptics. They exist to awaken those who have begun to remember. The first key is this: everything vibrates. The universe is not made of things. It is made of frequencies. What you perceive as matter, your chair, your body, even the thought passing through your mind is simply energy vibrating at different speed. Nothing is truly still. Nothing is static. Everything pulses and breathes. As it has always been written in the Kybalion, nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. When you truly grasp this, something within you begins to shift. You realize you no longer have to desperately control the external. You begin to understand that your reality is simply a mirror reflecting the frequency you broadcast. If all is vibration, then everything responds. It's not magic, it's subtle, spiritual physics. You can move to a new city, change your house, find a new job, but if your vibration remains unchanged, your life will echo the same patterns, only dressed in new forms. You leave the scenery, but the frequency travels with you. And the universe, obedient to the law of vibration, arranges itself accordingly. The Kybalion teaches that the only difference between the manifestations of the all, whether material, mental, or spiritual, is the varying rate of vibration. Solid or subtle, all is frequency. Real change does not begin with action. It begins with the silent adjustment of your vibration. And you can initiate that shift in the smallest ways, in the music you allow into your space, in the order or chaos you permit into your home, in the very way you breathe. If you want to change your life, start by changing your field. Clean your environment, clear a sacred space, light incense, play harmonic sounds, let your space breathe and breathe with it. That is how the true alchemy begins. Then, for 3 consecutive days, sit quietly in that space for a few minutes and say aloud, everything vibrates, boom. And I'm tuning into what I desire. Don't say it like a wish or a desperate prayer. Say it with the certainty of someone declaring a frequency, commanding the field around them to respond. And after speaking, write on a piece of paper the question, how can I align with the energy of what I want to experience? Don't expect an immediate answer. Simply stay open. It will come, often when you least expect it, but exactly when you're truly ready to hear it. Lesson 2. You attract what you vibrate, not what you want. As you begin to shift your vibration, you start to notice something profound. It is not your desires alone that shape your reality, it is the frequency you live and breathe. You can wish for peace, for love, for prosperity. But if you vibrate fear, doubt, or scarcity, the universe will only echo back the energy you emit. Not because it is cruel or indifferent, but because it operates as a perfect vibrational mirror. The Kybalion explains this clearly. The difference between the various manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and spirit is largely due to varying rates of vibration. Everything, from the people you attract to the emotional states you cycle through, is directly tied to the frequency you carry, even if you're not aware of it. You can speak about wanting love, but if you vibrate in lack, you will experience absence. You can affirm abundance, but if scarcity is your underlying field, blockages will manifest. You can declare your desire for peace, but if your nervous system is wired for reaction, conflict will continue to arise. It's not the words you speak, nor even the thoughts you think. It's the frequency you embody that the universe listens to. And when what you claim to want is out of sync with what you vibrate onto, you create static, noise. And noise cannot manifest clarity. Let me share a story to illuminate this truth. In a hidden forest among ancient mountains lived a young otter named Dyra. Dyra longed for a spring of crystal clear water, a sanctuary where she could live in peace. Every day, she wandered, tirelessly searching, digging through bushes, pressing on through brambles. Yet, no matter how hard she tried, she found only muddy puddles and dry creeks. Frustrated and defeated, she began to blame the forest, believing life was unfair, convinced she was less lucky than the other animals. "I want this so badly," she cried. "Why is it so impossible for me?" One evening, exhausted, Dyra collapsed beside an old turtle named Maru, who was resting serenely on a moss-covered stone. Maru listened quietly, his eyes calm, timeless, as though he had seen every story unfold 1,000 times before. After hearing Dyra's woes, he asked gently, "When you search for the spring, what do you feel inside?" Without hesitation, Dyra answered, "Anxiety, fear, anger. Fear that I won't find it, anger that I try and fail." Maru smiled knowingly and said, "What if you are not looking for a spring outside, but merely reflecting the waters inside your heart? When your heart is murky, the water hides. When your vibration is desperate, the path shifts away." That night, Dyra did not search. She sat quietly, giving thanks for every drop of water she had ever found, for the forest that sheltered her, for the life she still carried. And something shifted. The next morning, without force, without planning, she felt drawn down a different path, not the quickest or the clearest, but one that felt light. There, tucked between the rocks, she found the spring she had sought all along, pure, flowing, waiting. It had never been hidden by the forest. It had been hidden by the frequency she was searching with. Now step out of the fable and look into your own life. Maybe you, too, have been searching for love, for purpose, for peace for years. But it's not the frantic search that reveals the treasure. It's the alignment of your vibration that tunes you into it. Maybe, just like Dyra, you're doing everything right on the surface, saying the right words, taking the right actions, but if underneath you're vibrating anxiety, comparison, lack, and frustration, that's what the field is picking up as your energetic signature. So let's talk about a few powerful yet simple practices you can start applying right now to recalibrate your vibration to match what you truly want to experience. First, list 3 specific situations you want to change in your life. No vague hopes. Be concrete. For example, I want an easygoing relationship. I want more financial flow. Or, I want to feel emotionally balanced. Then, pause and ask yourself, what am I really vibrating when I think about this? Sit with it for a few minutes. Feel the response in your body. If you notice a tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, or if a negative thought immediately pops up. That's the hidden frequency you've been emitting. Next, rewrite these situations into coherent vibrational affirmations, not to fake it, but to retrain your energetic field. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about aligning your inner language to what you are ready to call in. For example, instead of saying, "I want peace," you write, "I hold the vibration of peace, even in the silence." Instead of, "I want to be valued," you say, "I vibrate self-worth, and that organizes the relationships around me." Then create a presence ritual. For just 7 minutes a day, close your eyes and fully embody the emotion you want to live in. If you want lightness, breathe as if you are already weightless. If you want abundance, walk through your home with the posture and energy of someone who lives in plenty. If you want love, feel that love pulsing through your heart right now, independent of anyone else. And here's a crucial piece. Monitor your impulses. Every time you catch yourself slipping back into complaining, comparing, blaming, or doubting, stop, breathe, and declare inwardly, "This is no longer in resonance with what I'm building." You don't need to vibrate high all the time. This isn't about perfection, but you do need to consciously choose the frequency you intend to hold. Remember, the universe doesn't respond to what you wish for. It responds to what you confirm through your vibration. Lesson 3. Emotions are vibrational commands. If your frequency defines your experience, then the true driver of that frequency isn't just your thoughts, it's your emotions. What you feel is the language the universe hears most clearly. You can say you trust, but if fear is humming underneath, it's fear that the field registers. You can repeat prosperity mantras all day long, but if your dominant emotional current is worry about debt, scarcity is what will manifest. And this isn't mystical speculation, it's grounded in the physics of energy. Studies have shown that the human heart generates an electromagnetic field vastly larger and more powerful than that of the brain. That's why what you feel carries more creative force than what you think. The Kybalion even points directly to this truth. Thought alone has no power of creation unless it is energized by strong desire and emotion. Emotion is the fuel behind vibration. It's the tone behind the note, the hidden energy behind the visible form. And this explains why so many people who endlessly read, study, and repeat affirmations still find themselves stuck, because true change doesn't come from absorbing information. It comes from shifting your inner state, from awakening real feeling. This isn't about toxic positivity, pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about emotional presence, about knowing what you're feeling and choosing to direct that energy consciously. You want abundance? Then you must stop fueling guilt every time you spend $1. You want love? Then you must heal the silent resentment still vibrating within you. You want lightness? Then you must release the unseen weight that doesn't speak, but quietly shapes your field, because your frequency responds not to what you think you want, but to what you are truly embodying inside. Your vibration isn't determined by what you pretend to feel. It's determined by what you truly hold inside. Let me give you a simple example. You might say you want to thrive. You might repeat affirmations like, "I am prosperous." But if every time a bill arrives, you feel tightness in your chest, anger, fear, dread, then the field isn't responding to your words. It's picking up the panic. And the vibration that dominates is always the one charged with the strongest emotion, not the one spoken from the mind. So how do you change that? You don't change it by forcing new thoughts. You start where the vibration is born. In the body. Pick an elevated emotion you can access easily without struggle. It could be gratitude. It could be peace. It could be love. For 5 minutes a day. Simply feel that emotion. Don't analyze it. Don't force it, feel it. Put on soft music, place your hand over your heart, breathe deeply, and silently affirm, "My field is being reprogrammed." What you are doing is teaching your body to vibrate in alignment before the physical evidence shows up. Because true change happens when you feel it first, not when you see it first. And every time you fall into emotional turbulence, pause and ask yourself, is this emotion bringing me closer to or pulling me away from the reality I want to experience? If it's pulling you away, don't fight it. Breathe, get quiet, redirect. Over time, you'll come to realize something profound. You can't always avoid every emotional reaction, but you can absolutely choose which emotions you feed, and that conscious choice changes everything. When emotion becomes conscious, it stops ruling you and starts serving you. Lesson 4. Outer disharmony reveals inner misalignment. The more you start living with emotional awareness, the more you'll see the outer world rearranging itself in response to your new vibration. But the reverse is also true. When chaos starts flooding your external life, it's a sign that something within has fallen out of balance. And this is not punishment. It's vibrational precision. The universe doesn't punish it. Reflex. The Kybalion captures this beautifully when it says, "Rhythm is compensation. Everything swings, leans, and eventually returns to center." The pendulum's motion is inevitable, but true mastery comes when you learn to remain conscious even in the swing, maintaining your center amidst motion. That's why when life feels chaotic, the answer is never to fight harder or force more. The answer is always to recenter yourself. If you're clashing with someone constantly, ask, am I trying to control, convince, or dominate? If you're exhausted, burned out, unfocused, ask, am I trying to outrun an inner emptiness I haven't addressed? If the same struggles keep appearing, maybe it's not bad luck, it's an active vibrational pattern. Harmony doesn't come from effort, it arises naturally when excess dissolves, when you stop pushing and start aligning. Here's an example. Imagine you're constantly arguing with your family. Heated discussions, walls of silence, heavy tension. On the surface, you feel like the victim, but slowly. If you observe without judgment, you notice your patterns, defensiveness, the urgent need to explain, the silent expectation that they won't understand. Your goal is peace. But the vibration you're emitting is resistance, and resistance creates energetic short circuits that attract more conflict. The path out isn't about changing them. It's about reclaiming your own center. And that shift begins in the body. Create an internal space of neutrality. It takes only 1 minute to shift your field. Next time you feel the explosion rising, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and whisper inwardly, I choose not to react. I return to my center. That single conscious act disrupts the old pattern. And every time you make that choice, every time you refuse to feed the chaos, you deactivate one more piece of it. Make a practice of noticing. Write down the moments you lose your center, not to judge yourself, but to understand, and from understanding, real change is born. Begin by noticing where you lose your center the most. Is it in traffic? During conversations with certain people? When you feel ignored or dismissed? These moments aren't signs of weakness. They are hidden portals to reconnection. Now, choose a daily action, a small ritual that becomes your bridge back to your center. It could be walking in silence, listening to a mantra, drinking tea with full presence, or simply lighting a candle and watching the flame dance. Done with true intention, these small acts have the power to reorganize your vibrational field, because it's not force that creates stability, it's awareness. And when you begin to cultivate that awareness even in the midst of turbulence, something remarkable happens. The chaos doesn't need to be fought or fixed, it dissolves. Not because the world out there suddenly changed, but because you stopped feeding the storm from within. Lesson 5. The inner fire that transforms. As you begin to stabilize your center, you will feel something awakening beneath the surface, a kind of heat. It's not quite discomfort, but it's not pure calm either. It's an inner movement, a silent burn, a living force stirring inside you. And if you observe it closely, you'll realize it's not anger, not anxiety, not pain, it's raw power. That fire is the sacred agent of transmutation. The ancient alchemists called it ignis sacra, the sacred fire. It's not the fire that destroys out of revenge. It's the fire that transforms by essence. In Hermetic tradition, the furnaces weren't built to melt physical metals, but to dissolve the heavy metals of the soul. Fear, attachment, pride, self, sabotage. These dense elements must pass through this fire to be refined into higher consciousness. The Kybalion says, "The true mental transmuter is the one who knows how to use the higher forces to master the lower." True transmutation is about activating the inner fire, the higher vibrational force, to lift yourself out of the patterns that bind you. But hear this clearly, the process isn't gentle. It isn't pretty. It isn't easy. Fire doesn't whisper it burns, but it only burns what no longer belongs. You know that feeling when everything in your life seems to collapse at once the job ends. Relationships shatter. Your health wavers, your mind spirals into chaos. At first glance, it feels like punishment, a cruel twist of fate. But in reality, it's the ignition of internal combustion, the old self, beginning to disintegrate because it can no longer hold the frequency of your evolving soul. Everything out of alignment must fall away when the fire awakens. No amount of control, avoidance, or resistance can stop it, because this fire was not born to please you, it was born to set you free. And here's the most powerful truth. That fire doesn't come from somewhere else. It's born from inside you. It's the uprising of your own vibrational field, your soul's refusal to remain confined any longer. And it burns even brighter when expansion becomes inevitable. That's why suffering, though it hurts, often becomes the fuel for awakening. Not because suffering is necessary for growth, but because the collapse of illusions makes space for the fire to do its sacred work. The attachments you once clung to, the outdated versions of yourself, the hunger for external approval, the emotional dependencies, the fabricated identities crafted to earn acceptance, all of these become fuel for the sacred fire. And the more you resist, the more it rages. But when you stop fighting, when you stand still and face it, the fire shifts. It begins to purify. And there, in the heart of the flames, something incredible happens. Clarity arises after pain, rebirth. After loss, the unveiling of what was always waiting, the real you. This is the cycle the ancients called solve et coagula, dissolve and coagulate. Burn to refine. Let go to be reborn. And this cycle doesn't happen just once. It repeats every time you are ready to leap into the next dimension of yourself. Every time you dare to rise beyond who you thought you were. In consciousness, the journey never truly ends, it deepens. And here's the good news. You can choose to work with the fire. You can choose to guide that transmutation, to accelerate the release of everything that no longer serves who you are becoming. And after the sacred fire has done its work, after it has stripped away the illusions, the fears, the attachments, what remains is pure essence. What remains is a clean, fertile field, a field alive with possibility. A field where your energy breathes, vibrant and unburdened. And in that purified state, you begin to notice something extraordinary. Something that was always around you, but now pulses in a completely new way. The earth herself, not as a place, but as a living, breathing being. Hermes taught that everything that exists vibrates, and the earth is no exception. She responds to every thought you hold, every intention you emit, every frequency you embody. Just as you are shaped by the earth's vibrational field, so too do you shape it in return. But somewhere along the journey, we forgot this sacred connection. We stopped living with the earth and started living on it. We walk across the ground without reverence. We breathe the air without awareness. We entomb ourselves in concrete, screens, and artificial noise, severing ourselves from the rhythms that once guided our souls. And the result, a silent epidemic, anxiety without cause, exhaustion without reason, a numbing loss of purpose. But the earth never turned away from us. It was we who turned away from her. The beauty is this: the moment you take even a small step back toward her, she welcomes you home without hesitation. She never abandoned you. She has been pulsing, waiting, breathing your name through the trees, the rivers, the winds. Quiet yourself for just a moment and you'll feel it. The trees aren't just standing there. They are witnesses. The wind doesn't simply blow, it cleanses. The rivers don't merely flow, they carry away what no longer belongs. Have you noticed how your body softens in nature? How your breath deepens, your mind clears, your heart seems to remember its original song? That's not imagination. That's vibration. The earth has a living electromagnetic pulse called the Schumann resonance. And when you reconnect with her field, your body, your mind, your soul begin to realign with their true source. The Kybalion teaches, he who understands the principle of correspondence is able to harmonize all planes of existence. As within, so without. As above, so below. What vibrates in you is mirrored in the earth. What pulses in the earth reverberates within you. And when that sacred tuning takes place, everything changes. You no longer need to push so hard against life. Life begins to carry you. You stop chasing and start flowing. You are guided, not with words, but with signs, with rhythms, with the silent wisdom of nature. So if you truly wish to raise your frequency, you don't need to escape the world, you need to walk with the earth again. Return to her rhythms. Let her teach you what your mind forgot, but your soul always remembered. And before you go, just a reminder, for those who feel called to dive deeper into this path, I've made the full book available. If this message touched something inside you, the next step is waiting. And if you wish to support this channel, to help this knowledge reach more souls who are ready to remember, you'll find a link provided. Every act of support vibrates, expands, and transforms. Thank you for vibrating with me through this journey. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep your frequency attuned to the truth. The universe is always listening.